Not in any way. He remained an active duty operator on Delta Force after killing a guy in his house when they were both completely out of their minds on drugs. And Levine was not even given a toxicology test after he shot somebody.
Completely crazy.
The reason for that is because once you have done 10 deployments in service of covert operations, assassination operations, it is an unacceptable national security outcome from the perspective of authorities for you to go to prison, for you to be in a courtroom for any reason.
All right, so that's not an accurate statement at all, guys. We have military prisons, military jails for that reason. We have Leavenworth, right? And then a slew of other prisons that are supposed to house military individuals that's committed crimes. So to say just because this dude, had 10 plus deployments, authorities didn't want to deal with them, that's not accurate at all, right? I know guys that's done, 10, 15 plus deployments, and then they fuck up and they're at Leavenworth, right? That's not something that the government is worried about. And I found another interview that that this guy did, and I thought it was pretty interesting, right? So there's a couple of different things that he covers in this one that I wanted to highlight to you guys. Eager to see where the DOD let this go, right? Because some of the stuff that he's talking about here, guys, are some other stuff that, the government doesn't really want to get out there.
Those guys, they are not supposed to exist. And they just can't process them through the criminal justice system in ordinary ways. And to me, that's what made his death so intriguing, because so many people alleged, the sources that I quote, I want to be responsible about this and not say that it's what I believe, but the sort of conventional wisdom that when I first got into the case, people were saying that the military itself had killed Billy Levine because he had turned into such a problem. And was messing up so badly.
That's probably the most outrageous statement that I've heard in a while. Because again, when people talk about the military, they talk about it as if it's like this organism with its own, ecosystem, and it has a brain and a mind of its own, and it can just do things. Guys, the military, it's a title, and just like Walmart and all these other places, and the military is full of people, right? So what you're saying is this dude's leadership or some other people within the military killed him, right? Just say that. Don't say the military, because it's such a blanket statement and it covers, everybody that serves in the military. It's not the military. I didn't kill that motherfucker. I didn't know him. You know what I mean? So it wasn't the military. It's certain individuals within his chain of command. Maybe say that, and maybe that would make sense. Let's keep listening.
I don't want to derail your story, but you've referred twice to assassination programs. I wasn't aware that the United States admits it assassinates people. When did that start? When did that become a feature of modern war or statecraft or whatever it is? What is that? What are you talking about?
In 2001, President George W. Bush signed secret.
Oh man, that's such a naive statement that Tucker just said. I mean, what do you live under a rock? Like, where have you been for the last 20 years, right? How do you think we get some of these bad guys off the battlefield? Come on now.
Orders that essentially, and they're secret, so I haven't read them, but based on the best reporting that I've seen, he signed secret orders that essentially reversed the assassination ban that had been put in place decades earlier. Actually, the groundwork for that legal move had been laid under President Reagan. There were memos in place, there were certain authorities, executive orders in place that did allow for assassination in the case when the target was deemed to be a terrorist. Those authorities actually weren't used, to my understanding, for decades. But when after the September 11th attacks, Bush reversed that. And you're saying that you haven't heard too much about it, but that's because we often hear about it by a certain euphemism, which is night raids. So
night raids, guys. I spent a shit ton of time in Afghanistan running commandos, and all we would do is run night raids, right, with the commandos. It wasn't to go assassinate people. It was just That was the best time to go out and do missions to where people wouldn't fucking shoot at us. We own the night. We have technologies that other countries don't have. It gives us an advantage. Night raids is not synonymous with, hey, we're going out and we're assassinating people. That's not accurate at all, guys. We go out at night because we own the night and it gives us an advantage. It wasn't to kill assassins, right? So some of the stuff that he's saying here is not accurate. And again, I'm not saying this to debunk or say what he's saying is not true. There's just certain elements of this that, as somebody that's not from that space, he doesn't fully recognize, right? You can conduct assassination in broad daylight. You could conduct assassinations at night, right? Night raids doesn't necessarily translate to, hey, we're going out and we're assassinating people, right? Let's keep watching.
Is an operative fact in all of this because the story, it goes on from here. But what was I saying about the murder itself?
So he was killed. Dumas was killed on site,
right? So the theory I was trying to recapitulate CID's theory of the case very briefly, which is that they think that Dumas was hired to kill Levine and did kill Levine with the cooperation of another person or persons. They then put Levine's body in the back of the truck, drive him out in the woods with the intention of throwing his body in a lake that's near there. But the truck got stuck in the woods. It got stuck in the mud because it wasn't on a road. It was on a fire break trail. And at that point, according to CID's theory of the case, the other guy decided to just abandon the situation and decided to kill Dumas in order to get rid of any witnesses.
What are the likelihood that you guys think that that's what actually happened? And listening to this possible scenario, there's a lot of similarities to, the Chris Kyle situation, right? You guys remember how, Chris Kyle went to the range with 2 Marines, and then he was, demonstrating a drill, and the Marines ended up shooting him from the back, and then there was a lot of weird things going on with that specific scenario, right? As it relates to how those Marines were able to get a jump on Chris Kyle. Chris Kyle was texting and saying, hey, these guys are a little iffy. I don't know if I want to go shoot with them. And then you get in front of them and you shoot. And there was a lot of weird things going on there. Same thing here, right? This dude's a Delta Force operator, and you're telling me that a supply guy was able to get jump on him and kill him? Something's not mathing here, right? It just doesn't make sense to me. And when shit doesn't make sense, I take a sip of coffee, all right, and I'll run through the scenarios in my head, and then I'll re-engage, right? With that said, guys, this segment is brought to you by, you guessed it, Dark Arts Coffee, right? The best cup of coffee I've had in a long while. If you're not familiar with Dark Arts Coffee or what it's about, grab your bag, QR code in the back. It'll tell you everything you need to know. Let's get back to this segment.
What's the theory as to why Dumas would have been hired to kill Levine?
Why he would have been hired?
Yes.
So there's a lot of competing possibilities. And as I said, I think that's what makes this murder mystery, for me at least as a writer, it was a productive narrative vehicle because there's lots of things to explore. One is that Mark Leshiker, the Green Beret who he killed, his teammates, by some accounts, wanted revenge. The fact that murder went completely unpunished, as you might imagine, leads to resentment in the community, leads to a lot of whispers.
Whenever Logan Melgo was killed by that Navy SEAL, I can tell you right now, everybody at Third Group was pissed. Everybody was fucking livid. But we understood there was certain way things had to be done. All right, guys from Third Group weren't flying out to San Diego and flying out to all these different locations to try to hunt this dude down to kill him, right? At the end of the day, guys, this is still America. We're still in a civilized country, right? We want due process to take place, right? And Logan Melgar was killed for doing the right thing, right? Third groupers weren't freaking loading up and, heading down there to try to avenge his death, right? It's just not how we do business. So to hear that, maybe, that dude's teammates, might have found a way to get revenge. That's a wild theory to me. Let's keep watching.
You can't just kill somebody. Maybe you get off legally, but there's going to be repercussions.
Yeah, a lot of dangerous people around.
Sure, yeah. So that's one.
Here's what we know. We know that Levine murdered a guy, got away with it. Obviously, his superior officers knew that. Command knew that. Was it widely known that he was a drug trafficker?
It was widely known that he was a drug user. And Yes, it was known that he was the guy that dealt drugs to his fellow operators. I mean, I talked to Mark Leshiger's family. So Mark and Billy, they were best friends, and so Mark's wife and his mom, even they all knew Billy Levine. They had all spent time at his house, and they and many other witnesses. I interviewed lots of family members and friends of both of these men. They said that you would go into Billy's house and there was just cocaine everywhere. And all his fellow operators from Delta Force were at his house too. And there's a bunch of coke on the table. They're doing MDMA. They're even smoking heroin, and it's considered to be totally normal in this community. That's what to me was the most shocking to hear again and again. Like,
All right. So again, it's not normal. And again, as somebody that's from outside the community, he wouldn't know what normal looks like. I'm from that community. At no point in time have I ever been to a teammate's house and there's coke and all that stuff, just laying around. I got buddies over there that works for Delta Force, and no point in time, I speak with them on the regular. They haven't said anything about them being at a buddy's, house and there's coke laying everywhere. These incidences are isolated. All right. When it comes to these units, not everybody is alike. I get it. Third group rolled up a bunch of folks coming through the gate from one company, from one team, right, that were, involved in cocaine. All right, guys, third group is huge. And then you still have first group. All right, you got fifth group, you got seventh group, you got 10th group. There's a bunch of Green Berets out there, all right? Isolated incident. Same thing with Delta Force. We're talking about one dude and his little circle, right? Again, isolated incident. Right? You got to keep that in mind as you're taking in this information. Not defending it, right? But I'm just adding perspective to it. Let's keep watching.
A question that I should have asked you a half an hour ago. What about drug testing?
so all members of the military are subject to random drug testing, but apparently they consider it a joke. I mean, there's a lot of reporting on this around the Navy SEALs. A lot of Navy SEALs have gone on the record to say that, they were using constantly during their time in service, and that the drug testing regimen was a complete joke because there's ways to defeat it. In particular, you can get a tip off because it's supposed to be random. It's not something they do regularly. And maybe that's what they need to be doing. But as the randomized testing, you can be told by someone in time, hey, your name is on the list. And
Yeah, the drug testing is a joke. That I agree with 100%. Like, you can defeat that thing. Like, it is a fucking joke.
that gives you time to suck down a bunch of water and stop doing drugs and pass the test.
Or buy clean urine.
But you would imagine maybe that's something that's going on as well. Hadn't heard that in particular, but I know that people can do that.
They certainly can.
Yeah, that's a thing, man. Like, you have a drug test going on. And again, man, like when I was in Big Army doing drug tests there, it's completely different because me as a immediate supervisor, when Private Joe Schmo is pissing, I'm on him and I'm looking at his pecker as he's peeing in a cup, right? You go to group and you got a bunch of, grown men, right? And you're I got to watch you. And oftentimes operators aren't the ones administering these piss tests, right? It's the supply guy, it's the NBC guy. Like, they're the ones that's trained to be able to administer that test. So if I'm, if I smoke or I, snorted cocaine the day before and now I have a piss test, right? Dude, based on where I'm at, like, I can easily, go to the bathroom. The supply guy's probably in the corner somewhere, and I can just find somebody else and be like, hey man, are you high, or did you do any drugs? And then he can just pee in the cup for me, right? So it is a complete joke. I agree with that 100%.
You got to remember, these guys are intelligent, highly trained. They're spies just as much as they are assassins. Many of them are. There's various levels within Delta Force. There's compartmented elements. There's the line squadrons, et cetera. So it depends on the person. But, these are people who their job is to do covert action. So they're very good at getting away with things. When your job is to penetrate a foreign country that's guarded by paranoid counterintelligence officials, to go into that country and, I don't know, bug an embassy or kidnap a guy off the street, a drug test isn't going to be something that you're too worried about, I think.
And
The book's not entirely about drug trafficking. There's also a lot of weapons trafficking, a lot of weapons theft from the military. Fort Bragg, it would blow your mind if they ever disclosed how much, how many weapons and how much in explosives that they lose annually. It's really crazy.
What kind of weapons? What kind of explosives?
Military weapons and plastic explosives.
Yeah, guys, we had a third group warrant. Him and his wife got rolled up a few years back, right? This dude was PBO. So imagine, you got a group of SF dudes, right? Every so often, we have to upgrade our weapon systems, right? When that happens, we take our old weapons that are on our property books, right? Me as the 18 Charlie, I will take it and I will take it to supply PBO and I'll turn them in. All right. PBO, that warrant that got busted, his job then is to take all those weapons and take them to the Fort Bragg facility that handles destroying those weapons. And then they will give him receipts back saying, yes, we will take these weapons, DRMO, we will take those weapons off your hands, take them off your unit's property book, and we at DRMO will destroy those weapons. So what he was doing is the team would turn those weapons in. He would take those weapons, give us receipts, right? Taking them off our team property book. And then he would forge a receipt saying that, hey, DRMO have taken the books off a third group's property book. And what he was doing, instead of turning them shits into DRMO, he was keeping them at his house and he was selling them to the cartel, right? He was making trips to Mexico and selling all those weapon systems. Whenever they raid his house, this dude had 50 cals. He had freaking 240s. He had grenade launchers, had all sorts of shit in his house. And he had a mattress full of cash. This happens, guys. This was a third group. Yep.
They lose an incredible amount of weapons every year. And Timothy Dumas was a guy who was trafficking weapons. Besides trafficking drugs,
a quartermaster.
He was a quartermaster, and so he was deeply involved in all of this.
Yeah.
Yep. Timothy Dumas, warrant officer, PBO type, right? Guys, this type of shit does happen, man. It's just wild to hear it, and now it's going to be in a book for everybody else to see. So this should be an interesting book, right? I'm not pushing this dude's book. I'm just saying this is some interesting shit because it's stuff that I know to be true, but just hearing it out loud on the national stage is something else.
So what is the answer?
You have to address the demand. The demand is what's causing all this. So long as
why can't anyone just here's what I don't understand. Sobriety is good. Okay, sobriety is the key to joy and productivity and like having a useful life, making it worth being here.
I agree.
For the short period that we are. I believe that through much experience. I've never heard any leader in our country say that.
What I'm saying about Mexico?
No, about sobriety.
About sobriety.
The goal ought to be clear thinking, whatever, within the bounds of human nature, but like virtuous life. I don't know. Try to be clear-eyed, hardworking, decent, and sober. Like, there's no kind of goal set by our leaders. Like, maybe you shouldn't be wasted all the time. Maybe you should get off your freaking SSRIs, which make you impotent, by the way, or your benzodiazepines or your beer or your weed. Like, no one even says that.
I mean, I think they're all on drugs.
Everyone's on drugs.
I think the whole U.S. government's on drugs.
I totally agree.
I mean, look at the people at the highest level. I mean,
guys, interesting conversation. We'll link it in the description box for you guys to go check out yourselves. Again, man, interesting conversations. Accountability comes in all shapes and sizes. It's greenberetchronicles.com/shop for the merch. And also, I enjoy dark art. Give it a try and see if you do also. Appreciate the support. Take care.